The Varda Space Industries W-2 capsule safely returned to Earth at Southern Launch's Koonibba test range at the end of February. I spoke with Varda before its return. Now Amy Featherston, comms and media manager at Southern Launch and friend of the show, is beaming in to take us on a deep dive of the recovery operation on this episode of Talkin Science.
21 years online, from Star Trek to science and space, and we're not stopping. This is Talkin Science.
Amy, welcome back for the first time in 2025. What an awesome end to February you guys had.
Yeah, it was quite exciting. Always good to end a month with a world first. So the team here is pretty excited.
Absolutely, and rightfully so. It was a late night at the end of February, the capsule making landfall just after 1 a.m. local time. What's the Koonibba range like at that time of the day?
Extremely dark. So I was located about 20 minutes north of Ceduna in a field, which was our northern observation site. And yeah, it was pitch black, but my goodness, were those stars shining. So it was quite amazing to be out there.
I bet they were. Now, I've driven past a couple of times in the past few months on my way to and from Perth for Trekzone Media. It really is an ideal location for capsule recovery, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was quite an amazing event. So we obviously saw the capsule appear above the horizon and it got quite exciting. And then it streaked across the sky, as you can see in my background photo. And then, yeah, the next day at first light, we jumped on board helicopters to fly out there. So it was quite the experience to get out there. And I was, second person on Earth to see this capsule once it was back safely in the Australian outback.
How very, very exciting. And these images that you guys have supplied in the VNR are just incredible. To see it land in a field in amongst, that is the outback South Australia that I know, just those few trees close to the Nullarbor, and just to find it as well for a tiny capsule. It certainly was a massive recovery operation with a full suite of telemetry out there. Was it difficult to track the capsule down?
Yeah, so the capsule actually sent SMSs, which was quite modern of it. So it was sending the Varda team regular updates until it lost power. So I think the battery lasted, a good couple of hours after it landed. So we were very confident where it was. But then again, like you say, finding it once you're out there. So it's low mallee trees, it's spinifex out there. It's quite rough territory. So luckily, our helicopter pilot spotted the parachute, and that made it a lot easier. And then we managed to find a place to land and go and pick it up.
Very, very cool. Now, from there, it visited Lot 14, I understand, in Adelaide. Peter Nikolov from Koonibba mentioned to me between our record for next week's deep dive that it was an awesome sight to see, and such a tiny little capsule too. Very cute. What's the reaction been like to W2's return?
Yeah, it's been quite an amazing reaction. So we've had lots of people look at it. We had a big event in Adelaide last week. I have to say my own kids even thought it was pretty exciting, which, from a kid, that's something, they're often the harshest critics. So yes, it is quite small. It's only about 1 meter in diameter, but to see up close how charred the underside got as it re-entered, it got hotter than the surface of the sun. So to see that we have technology that can withstand that and see what impact that re-entry had is quite amazing to see it in person.
Now, where to from here? We know that Varda's payload specialists are working with the Southern Launch team to verify everything. How's that progressing?
Yeah, it's all done. So the capsule's actually all packed up in its special box and ready to go on tour. It's going to stay in Australia for a while. The payload was shipped back to Los Angeles within 50 hours. So that was quite the operation to get the pharmaceutical payload back. And then next is W3. So that will be launching very, very soon. And we will be having that one land at the Koonibba test range again in the coming months.
That is going to be very cool. I'm hoping to be out there for that one because I was disappointed that I missed W2. But as you say, W3, and then there's even more to come as well.
Yeah, definitely. What we're finding is that the Koonibba test range is definitely on the map globally as a returns hub, and that's just something, a capability we're hoping to continue build. Returns are becoming more and more popular with space companies as the technology develops. So the Koonibba test range is the perfect place for them to come back down.
Nice sales pitch. I love it. And then there's also Whalers Way as well for those polar orbits. There's plenty of stuff happening at Southern Launch.
Yeah, I mean, ideally in the future, the capsules return to the Koonibba test range and get relaunched from Whalers Way. That's the idea, and to keep it all here in South Australia. So refurbishing those capsules here, taking what's on board, and using that to make new life-saving drugs or computer chips or whatever it might be. We want to have that advanced manufacturing here in South Australia. So that's the goal.
And that's going to be a cool part about being a launch service and recovery operations provider, isn't it? That it's not your missions, but you get this multitude of different missions coming in, as you say, from drug manufacturing to, I don't know, it could be anything else. Hopefully the next version of Koonibba could be launching from Southern Launch in Australia.
Yeah, of course, that's the goal. South Australia, and Australia more broadly, has such a great space industry. We see our role as a launch and return service provider as one of the fundamental pillars of that industry, and we seek to take any opportunity where we can provide more uplift for our sector. So if returns is going to open the door to a global industry and make it more, put Australia on the map more broadly, well, then we're happy to take that role. And then we hope that the flow-on opportunities go through to every space company and the wider manufacturing sector here in Australia.
Absolutely. Amy, thanks for beaming in. It's a short, sharp deep dive of Varda's W2. Looking forward to W3.
Yeah, can't wait.
Well, that's what we call a Talkin Science deep dive, taking you beyond the headlines from Australia's Trekzone media. Keep up to date with our daily science and space stories with an Aussie flair across our social media. If you're in Australia and need a production company for a live stream or a corporate presentation, hire us at trekzone.media. Become a member of our YouTube channel to get the latest behind the scenes and early access to podcasts when we can. The trek.zone/support for now. And as always, I'm Matt Miller. This is Talkin Science.